So proportion word problems, a ratio is just a comparison of two quantities using a fraction. About 10 more seconds, and then we're going to go to the next term. The next term is ratio of units. If you did not get this definition down, remember it's in your notes from yesterday, but you will want to get this definition down. Ratio of units. This is going to be the new point that we're going to talk about today and go over. So ratio of units is a comparison of two units using a fraction. So what that means, as you're reading through a word problem, this word problem that we're going to do, the word problems that we're going to do today, is going to compare two things or two units. So we're going to have to identify what's being compared and come up with a ratio of units. Okay, so ratio of units. Ratio of units.
Oh, what do you got?
Ratio of units. You don't. I just put that up there. Danielle, ratio of units. You're going to have to actually put ratio of units on your examples and identify them. So like when we go to do these word problems, the first thing that we'll write is ratio of units.
So it's not worksheet, that's only word problems?
What's that?
We're doing a worksheet with a lot of word problems on there?
Mm-hmm. Okay. You ready? So examples of ratio of units. Something you can, dollars to pencils. So in here, how much money does a pencil cost?
$100.
$10 for one pencil, right? So let's say that Cody bought one pencil for $10. David bought $100 worth of pencils. How many pencils did David buy? So you're going to make up a proportion and solve it. Miles to hour, you can compare. Miles to gallons, you can compare. Hours to seconds, hours to minutes. Those are all units of comparison. All right, so let's just get into our word problem. So example number 1. In a map of Illinois, 3/4 of an inch represents 12 miles. If it is approximately 9 inches from Belleville to Champaign on the map, what is the actual distance? Okay, the first thing that we need to identify is what are they comparing? What unit of quantities, what units are they comparing? Well, say that again? No. What are they asking us? Okay. Okay, so there's one. So we're talking about miles and what else? Okay, but what else is being used to describe distance? Inches. So our ratio of units, the two things that are being compared are miles to inches, okay? So we're going to put ratio of units and draw a line. For the first one, put ratio of units, then you can put ROU. But for the first one, write it all out so you know what it is. For like when we go to do your test, if you forget, like, ooh, what did that mean again? Test, quiz, you know, all of them. Okay, so we already determined that we're going to do miles to inches. Does it matter which one I put on top or bottom?
No.
Nah, it doesn't. So I'm just going to do miles over inches. Okay? So miles over inches. All right, so this is where we need to kind of determine what we're talking about. So they're saying 3/4 of an inch represents 12 miles, right? There's our first comparison. So 3/4 of an inch represents 12 miles. So I need to put 3/4 somewhere. Am I going to put 3/4 on top with miles, or am I going to put 3/4 inch on the bottom with inches? Well, you're going to keep. Are you going to put inches? Remember, 3/4 an inch. Is that going to go on top with miles, or is that going to go on the bottom with inches? Yeah, it's going to go on bottom. How many of you guys like to organize things? Okay, so when you organize things, you group things together, right? Basically, our ratio of units is organizing things. So anytime that we're dealing with miles, because miles is on top, we're going to keep it on top. Anytime we're talking about inches, we're going to keep it on bottom because we want to keep that organized, okay? So 3/4 is going to go on bottom with my inches. Now, so 3/4 of an inch represents how many miles? 12. So that 12 miles is going to go where? Top.
Today Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Don't we get out early?
Yep.
What time we get out here?
On the board, 9:15. Okay, so that's the first part of our ratio. Now we need to get our second part of our ratio to come up with the proportion, right?
Yeah.
So, if it is approximately 9 inches, so if it is approximately 9 inches, and I just heard Daisha say 9 will go on the bottom, from Belleville to Champaign on the map, what is the actual distance in miles? So what are we trying to find? The distance in. So what information do I not have?
The top number for the 9.
The top number for miles. So we're going to go ahead and put it in there for miles. Okay? So then this part here, you guys, you know how to do it. This is what we were doing yesterday and today in our opener. Thank you. Okay? So now we're just going to solve this proportion. So when we solve a proportion, first thing I do is cross multiply. So what's 12 times 9?
How you gonna cross multiply?
108?
Fraction?
That's a great question. Remember you have that fraction button on your calculator? So you're going to take 3, ABC button 4. So 3, fraction button 4, that'll be your fraction. So 3/4 times m. Well, what's 3/4 times m? Yeah, it's 3/4 m. Okay? And after we cross multiply, we solve. So circle my variable, draw my line of equality. How do I get the m by itself?
3/4.
So divide each side by 3/4. So I bring down my variable m. So in your calculator, you're going to take 108 divided by 3, fraction button 4.
144.
So because we're dealing with word problems, you have to label it. So it's 144 what? What do we solve for?
Miles.
Miles.
I ran out of space.
You can write it. If you need to write it underneath too, you can do that. As long as it's all in your box. I promise you, it will get easier. I know at first you're like, what are we doing? But the more you practice it, the better you'll get. I'm not going to lie, I brought out my binder because I'm a little rusty. It's been a year since I've looked at these. All right, example number 2. So the first thing that I'm going to do is write R-O-U for ratio of units, okay? And I'm going to identify what my ratio of units are. So on average, a particular basketball player makes 7 out of every 9 free throws she takes. If she shoots 216 free throws during a season, how many of these would you expect her to make? Okay, so what are my ratio of units? What 2 things am I comparing here?
Out of every free 9, 200.
Free throws, but we're comparing 2 things.
The 216. Average. Average, right? Her average per shot she made.
Okay, so shots made out of total shots, right? So how should we put our units? Shots made? And then on the bottom, should we just put it as total?
Yeah. So look, we gonna really have to write all this out like you do.
Yes. I know. I'm gonna make you show your work. It's awful.
Man.
And
That's already 9. So it's not good.
okay, so let's break it down then. So we're gonna look how I always do these problems, and it works the majority of the time. I always find one sentence. Who?
Mackenzie?
No, she's not here today.
Oh, okay.
At least she's not. Oh, because you were going to grab her to work with her today. Yep. She has not been up to first hour today.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I always do, I look for the first sentence that contains both two numbers. So do we have a sentence here that contains two numbers? Yeah. So where? 7 out of 9 free throws. So the 7 out of 9 free throws she takes. What's the 7 represent? How many she makes. So 7 gonna go on top or bottom? Top, because that's her shots made. What does the 9 represent? The bottom, because that's how many shots she actually took. Okay, so we're gonna move on then. If she shoots 216 free throws during an entire season, how many of those would you expect her to make? So this number here, 216 free throws. If she is throughout her whole season, if she shoots 216 times, how many should she make? So where's that 216 going to go? The bottom, because that's her total number of shots she took, right? So we're trying to find out what information. How many she made. So what do you want our variable to be? S? B? Let's do S. Shots made. Okay. So now we have a proportion, right?
Why are we doing S?
That's right, because we can. We can use any letter that we want. I just used S because that's the first variable I heard. Okay, solving a proportion, what do we do first?
You have to multiply 7 and 216.
7 times 216. I don't have a calculator either.
It's 15
Alex,
twiddles.
what is it?
15 twiddles. That's not bad.
Y'all agree?
Then
Then what do you do?
You put it.
I can use right quick. You gotta erase it.
What if you 9S?
Yeah, because you're going to just cross multiply 9 times S.
Oh, my bad.
S probably isn't the best variable to use. Why? It could look like a 5. I'll try not to.
I can never look like it looks like a 5. How is it gonna look like a 5?
Alex, you didn't know what a 4 was. Okay.
Oh, really?
So we're going to draw our line of equality, circle our variable. How do I get the variable by itself? Divide by 9. Okay? So S is going to equal 100 what?
I got 168.
168? You agree? Okay? So I'm not just going to put 168 though, because I'm dealing with word problems. I'm going to have to put 168. What? What are we? Say it again. Shots made.
Then you might as well drop your S.
You know what?
Yeah, Ms. Little Kid, why you still got your S there?
Because I still had to solve my proportion and solve my equation. So I still want to put that S equals 168 shots made.
But I thought
Because I like to be extra.
we know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. She told us like
Every day. Since August. We should be used to it. Okay. Let's look at example number 3. So example number 3, if you notice, we're going to have 2 parts to it. Okay? Does anybody want to attempt to say this last name? Any of you guys watch the Indy 500, like race car racing?
Yeah. No. Yes.
Okay. So, Ari L. from 1990 holds the track record at the Indianapolis 500, where he drove the 500 miles, averaging 13.442 miles every 5 minutes. Okay. So, part A. At that rate, how many miles could he travel in 1 hour? So, the first thing that we need to determine is what's the ratio of units? What are they comparing? What are they comparing?
That's quick. I know that.
Look up here, guys. What are they comparing? Miles to minutes. So our ratio of units is miles to minutes.
Ms. Little Kid, I want to know what would it be like if him a race car driver, like the NASCAR driver became a bus driver.
You guys would always be to school time? I don't know. Okay, so, again, focus. Again, what information do we know so far? How many miles can he drive in how many minutes?
500.
So, my 13.442 miles, is that going to go on top or bottom? Yeah, we're going to keep it at top with miles. So, he can drive 13.442 miles every 5 minutes. So that 5 minutes is going to go where? The bottom with minutes. So we just got our first part of our information. So now we're ready to figure out how many miles could he travel in 1 hour. So I'm trying to find out how many what? So we don't know how many miles he can drive, can we? So that's what we're trying to figure out. So we're going to put the variable m here. Now, how many miles can he travel in 1 hour? Hold on, hold that thought. But we're talking about minutes, right? But they're saying hour. So we're going to have to turn that hour to minutes. Because that's our ratio of unit. We're talking about minutes, right? So I can't just put it 1 hour because we're not talking about hours. We're talking about minutes. So,
But that's changing like the whole problem.
see, I heard it. Yeah. No. Just change an hour to minutes. How many hours or how many minutes are in an hour? 60. So that 60 is going to go on bottom. Okay. So you guys are pros at this part. We're going to cross multiply here. No, don't. Yeah. So we're going to get 806.52. Equals 5 times m, 5m. Okay? Draw my line. Circle my variable. 5 by 5. So we're going to take 806.52 divided by 5. And we got what? Is that what you guys got?
6,161.304.
Okay. So, well, think about it, though. This is, we had a pretty long number for our first mileage. So in 60 minutes, so if he had 60 minutes or an hour, he could drive 161.304 what? Miles, yeah.
We still got another problem, Bob.
We do, and then we're done with our notes. Okay. All right, finish that one up. If you're done with that third one, look at the part B. See if you can set part B up. So the question for part B, how long would it take him to drive 500 miles? So what are our ratio of units? What are we talking about? Miles and? So yeah, we're still, so our ratio of units are the same. So we're still talking about, one second, Alex, miles and minutes. Okay? So we're going to use the same information that we started with. How many miles can he drive? And it goes on top with miles. What goes on bottom with minutes? It would be 5. So the question is, how long would it take him to drive 500 miles? So what information do I know here?
500 miles.
500 miles. Is that going to go on top or bottom? Where is my miles? Yeah, we're going to keep my miles all organized on top together, okay? So 500 miles is going to go on top.
Boy, what?
Just like,
You gotta match it up.
But now where we gonna put our variable with?
well, what are we trying to find? How long would it take him, right? How long would it take him? That's talking about minutes. That's talking about time, right?
So you put it out there.
Yeah, we can use M again for minutes. All right, here we go. we are going to cross multiply.
It's gonna be that and M. That's a long number.
You think we're gonna get another long number? M equals, what's 5 times 500?
I mean,
2,500. Okay. Solve, draw our line. I'm gonna run out of room. How do I get the M by itself?
you divided by the number on both sides.
I'm gonna come down below here and put my answer, okay? So M equals, so 2,500 divided by 3.442.
Where did you get the 3.442? Where you get that? Oh.
13, oh my goodness, that's an excellent
That's why I
question.
was like so confused. I didn't say anything, but I thought that's what it was. So I was like, I don't.
Don't you guys remember I make mistakes? I will admit that I make mistakes. So when you divide that, what do you get?
Wait, what was the question?
When you take, and you get the variable by itself, and you take 2,500 divided by 13.442, what does that equal?
185.
Okay, so 185.98. Let's round it to the nearest minute. If I want you to round it to the nearest minute, what number is in the nearest minute spot?
This,
The 5?
The 5, good. So we're talking about a whole number. So when I say the nearest minute, I basically want a whole number. So I'm going to look at the 5, look to the right, is that 5 or greater?
Yeah.
So that 5 goes up to a,
That's 6.
so it's going to be 186 what?
$1 million.
186 what? 180 minutes.
Man.
Oops, I got it. You're good, Ethan. I can get it. Sorry, but I wasn't fast
Sorry.
enough. That's all right. And that is my final answer. Questions?
Yep.